Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Yoga podcast. Welcome back to all the regular listeners, as well as anyone new joining the Let's Talk Yoga podcast community. I am so glad that you are here. I hope you find value in the conversations we have on this podcast, and I hope you're doing well. We just wrapped up our yearly Diwali celebrations this past weekend. And if you're unfamiliar with Diwali, think of it as the Festival of Lights. It's one of the bigger festivals that we celebrate in India. And for many years, I honestly didn't celebrate a lot of festivals. But since last year, I'm consciously trying to make it a bigger part of my life. It does help me feel more connected to my roots. And more importantly, I think the reason why I've started doing them is because I feel like it brings me a little closer to my mother. And since her passing, I had completely stopped all of these, the little that I used to do. And I feel like I'm beginning to honor that memory because I have so many childhood memories from these festivals. So to honor that relationship and that bond, I have been trying to celebrate Diwali every year. And so this year I got dressed up. I took a whole bunch of pictures with Munch. I'm pretty sure he didn't enjoy it as much as I did. I know some of you saw them on Instagram. And we cooked some Diwali food. We ate a lot more of it. We celebrated with a lot of our friends, family, and I even got to do a full Diwali clean, like a house clean, which I enjoy so much. Something about cleaning, I just love it. Okay. And I can go on and on about how much I enjoy cleaning, but this is not that. This is not the space for it. So, what am I trying to say? I felt rejuvenated and I got a deep moment to appreciate my own culture, something that I should be doing more often, and made a note to myself that next year Diwali is going to be even bigger. And it got me really excited. But this morning, I'm back at work and I was taking a trip down memory lane and looking at some of our older Pranayama podcasts. I know many of you have been waiting for my annual Pranayama immersive study program to release for this year. And I'm excited to share that the wait is finally over. As you're listening to this episode, all the details are live. The waitlist is open. And I will be sharing all the dates, the timings, and all of the details of this course at the end of today's episode. Okay. But to know more, the links are available wherever you're listening to this podcast, in that description, in our show notes, on my Instagram handle, and most importantly, on our newsletter. So if you have been waiting to add pranayama to your own practice and teaching repertoire, this is it. Okay. The course is coming soon, within a few weeks. Registrations are opening. Again, I will hold off on all the details till the end of today's episode. But in this episode, I want to give you an opportunity to practice a little pranayama with me via this podcast. So you get a first-hand experience of what it's like inside this course. This episode will guide you through basic pranayama guidelines, break down what pranayama means, tell you a lot, give you context about pranayama. Because for me, pranayama holds a very special place in my heart and in my life. That's a very personal story that I will share with some of you at a later point. But I will also take you through some pranayama practices in this episode. And I will leave you with a few different versions of the same practice. So you have pranayama for life. Okay. The one thing you would have heard me say on Instagram Reels, if you've been watching, is you don't need a lot of variety in pranayama. You need that in asana. Okay. So I will guide you through practice. There's a lot of sequencing stuff that I talk about. And I can get very nerdy about pranayama. And I have a deep purpose to share it with all of you. But again, more of that at another point. But before we get to our Pranayama Masterclass here, I want you to remember that we create this content for yoga teachers. It's created for free. So a way you can support this podcast is to leave us ratings and reviews and share it with your friends, or your, not just your friends, but more your yoga friends. And if you really want to study with us, then the longer format trainings are where you head into. Okay. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Again, I will share all the details for Pranayama Yoga Teacher Training 2023 at the end of today's episode. See you on the other side.
Hi,
Hi, my name is Arundhati, and you're listening to the Let's Talk Yoga podcast. I'm an ex-Bollywood dancer turned yoga and wellness educator. I've built a six-figure business as an immigrant, woman of color yoga teacher with no business background, no handstands, pure instinct, and the free information found on Google. If you love doing yoga and you dream of teaching it someday, this podcast is for you. We go over everything from doing and teaching yoga to scaling a small business, living a modern yoga lifestyle, and so much more. You'll find interesting, fun, raw conversations along with some tips, tricks, strategies, and insights in this podcast. So grab your cup of chai and let's jump in. Welcome to your virtual pranayama practice. Today we're exploring the king of pranayamas, or the first pranayama known to mankind. Without getting too nerdy about pranayama, because I can, I want to share a bit of context. The more context you have for these practices, the more you can connect with them, the more you can understand them. While the word pranayama has no English equivalent, in fact, there's no language that can give you an equivalent to pranayama. It is best to call pranayama by its intended name, which is pranayama. But if you pressed me on the meaning, there are two different ways we could split up the word pranayama. The first way to split the word is prana plus ayama. Prana plus ayama. Prana is life force, vital energy, okay? Life currents. This vital prana flows within us at all times. The word ayama, A-Y-A-M-A, means expansion. So in short, pranayama can be thought of as expanding the dimension of prana within our bodies. The second way to split this word is to split it exactly in the middle. So prana plus yama. Okay. Do not confuse this with the yamas or the niyamas. Okay. Yama means to stop or to arrest or to restrict. Yama also is the god of death, and that has nothing to do with this meaning of pranayama. The thing is, in Sanskrit language, the same word can have multiple meanings depending on how it's used, and it's completely contextual. Okay, so in this split, prana plus yama, it means restraining the breath or the act of restraining the breath. Both these interpretations of pranayama are completely valid. Okay, but the word pranayama itself is best called pranayama. Okay, now pranayama deals with the prana in our system, and there are many different types of pranas. These pranas are dominant at different locations and govern specific functions. If you're keen to know more about the prana vayus in our body, I can go into it at a later time. But prana governs everything that goes on in our bodies, both on a physical level and a much more subtle level where it influences our minds. We can keep our prana flowing freely and abundantly through skillful and intentional pranayama practice. And there are many different pranayama techniques. But before we get into the techniques itself, let's look at the breath a little more closely. There are four main parts to respiration: Puraka, Antara Kumbhaka, Rechaka, and Bhaya Kumbhaka. Puraka is the Sanskrit word for inhalation. Antara Kumbhaka is internal retention. Kumbhaka is retention, okay? And Kumbhaka is literally, Kumbhak means a pot. Okay, so Antara Kumbhaka is internal retention. This happens right at the top. When the inhalation is complete, that's when you experience Antara Kumbhaka. The exhalation is called Rechaka,
And the retention that happens when the exhalation is complete is called Bahya Kumbhaka or Bahir Kumbhaka. Okay, external retention. If you traveled back in time and you got to meet Maharishi Patanjali and you asked him to define pranayama, he would tell you that pranayama begins at the stage of kumbhaka retention. In fact, many ancient texts talk about pranayama starting with kumbhaka. Everything before kumbhaka is nothing but preparatory stages, and kumbhaka is this really precious moment where pranayama begins. And it's fascinating to explore kumbhaka, but that's something we'll get into a little more later in the episode. But there are just so many numerous pranayama techniques. And while I would love to share every single technique and get really nerdy with you about pranayama, it's just not going to be possible through one episode. But if you wish to deepen your knowledge and understanding of pranayama, and more importantly, you're looking for a guide or a teacher to help you learn pranayama in a structured way, then you might be interested in my upcoming pranayama immersion and optional yoga teacher training. And if you enjoy what I'm talking about on this podcast, then you will get literally 100 times more value in the live face-to-face kind of virtual training. Okay. In today's show, we're talking about my go-to pranayama practice, both as a student and as a teacher. And I've added practice notes in all the stages that we'll practice. And it is best to do this practice earlier in the day and preferably on an empty stomach. Because when your system is full of food, it's really hard to take a comfortable and even a deep breath. Okay. Tea, coffee, water, juice, all of that is okay. But try to do this earlier, preferably before breakfast. The pranayama we're practicing today is the king of pranayamas called Nadi Shodhana. And you've probably heard this practice before, or you've probably done it. This is a pattern of influencing the breath by controlling the flow through the right and left nostrils. These two channels of breath control the two hemispheres of the brain. By regulating the flow of prana through the Ida Nadi and the Pingala Nadi, we balance the polarities that exist in our prana in our lives. These polarities are everything. We are made up of opposites. So masculine and feminine energy, the Shiva Shakti, heat and cool, and just so many other opposites. The right nostril is the Ida Nadi or the Surya Nadi, and the left is the opposite, the Chandra Nadi. Okay? And the right is heating and alerting, while the left is cooling and calming. At all stages, we need both these pranas, these nadis, these nadis to be flowing freely. And there are many, many stages to Nadi Shodhana. Most often people jump the preparatory stage and go straight to blocking one nostril and breathing in and out in a certain manner. Okay. But if you do the preparatory stages that I'm guiding you through, when you actually reach the stage of Kumbhaka in Nadi Shodhana, you will have a much more enhanced experience. Now, pranayama is not meant to be rushed. Pranayama is not meant to be learned at once. Unlike asana, where you have multiple poses and you can do so many poses and the sequence changes and then there's a peak pose and we go all out in stringing the poses in a sequential way. It's different in pranayama. It really depends on your quality of awareness, your ability to go from gross to subtle. So what I'm trying to say is do not force. Do not think of this modern yoga mindset where we think learning more is somehow better. I actually will make a request here that you adopt a curious but a humble mind and take your time in learning these stages. While they are given to you in one podcast episode, I will call out that you can do each stage literally for a lifetime, because you, the listeners, have different practice backgrounds and abilities. Some of you will need to remain in stage 1 for a very long time, while some of you might be able to go to stage 2, 3, or 4. Okay. But remember, it's not about the end goal. There is no end goal to pranayama. Pranayama can continue for a lifetime. And it's not about variety. If you catch yourself being bored, perhaps it's a little too soon for pranayama. Or perhaps it's just not the right time of day. So just remember, variety means nothing in pranayama. Consistency is king. Okay. Developing a deep personal relationship with your breath and your prana. It's so much more than your breath. It's your prana that you're connecting to. And that's essential. So work towards cultivating this inner awareness and discernment. While you have Sthiram Sukham Asanam from the sutras to guide you in asana, I want you to bring that into your pranayama as well. This quality of ease and steadiness. And that ease and steadiness needs to happen in the breath as well as the mind. Okay. And pranayama is so much, but it's not only about deep breathing. And pranayama isn't boring, and it's not about coaching how to breathe. It is a life practice and something that we are privileged to learn and privileged to practice and to share. On that note, let's begin. Preparatory practice, stage 1, Nadi Shodhana, all levels welcome. Find an undisturbed spot and sit in Dhyanasan or a comfortable seat. Find a long spine and an open chest and a comfortable position for your arms. If you're sitting on the floor, be mindful to sit on some height. You're welcome to sit in a chair as long as you can have an open chest and a long spine. If you are comfortable doing this, close your eyes and start to settle in as I speak. Start to watch the natural rhythm of your breath. And just notice your breath as it is. So often, we're tempted the moment we notice the breath to change it, to judge it. But just let your mind be enveloped in the breathing process. Let your awareness of breath get steady and strong, but in a gentle, calm manner. And if you're familiar with full yogic breath, start to practice that on your next inhale. Breathe comfortably into your belly and the entirety of your lungs every time. Fill up, and at the top of that inhale, just wait for a moment and then mindfully exhale, going from the top of your lungs all the way back down to your belly. And just breathe freely in your own capacity with minimal effort. Please do not force the breath. Continue for a few more rounds. If you feel the need to settle in, or rather if you are unable to settle, continue to do this longer. Just hit pause on this recording. But if you're ready, prepare your right hand for Nasikagra Mudra. Fold the first 2 fingers to the root of your thumb and bring the ring and little finger together. In the next practice that will start in a moment, we'll close the right nostril with the thumb gently but completely. And then we'll breathe in and out through the left nostril only. It's like a one-way street. When that's complete, we'll close the left nostril with the ring and little finger, open the right, and we'll breathe in and out through the right nostril. When that is over, we'll release the Nasikagra Mudra and we'll breathe in and out through both open nostrils. This is a preparatory stage for Nadi Shodhana. We're going to repeat this cycle a few times. But I'm going to be guiding you for 10 rounds, or I'm suggesting you do 10 rounds. But remember, it's just a number. You can do 3, you could do 1, you could do 8 or 10, but stop at 10 as your upper limit. After I guide you, you will hear a pause in the audio. This space is for your own self-practice. Once you finish, just sit in silent reflection and wait for the guidance to resume. Let's begin. Close your right nostril with your thumb and breathe in and out through your left nostril 10 times. When you're done, close left, open right, and continue 10 rounds on your right side. When you're done, release the right nostril and breathe 10 times through both nasal passages and continue for 3 or 5 more rounds. When you're done, please allow for natural breathing to resume. If you are continuing to practice, then just hit pause at this moment. Please remember, stage 1 is a preparatory stage, and just this stage alone can be a lifelong practice. I highly encourage you to make this a daily practice, or at least a consistent practice. Essentially, through this practice, we are clearing the nasal passages. And as your practice continues, you'll notice that the way you breathe gets more efficient and effortless. Continuing with stage 2. In this stage, we equalize the breath. In a moment, you'll return back to your practice, but this time, try to make your inhalation and exhalation equal. You can do this by just using pure awareness or start using a count. Ancient yogis did not have a stopwatch or even numbers when this practice was invented or created. They used to experiment with different ways of measuring time. The blink of an eye, a twitch, or a snap of the fingers, or rubbing the palm once around the knee. They had different and unique ways of measuring a unit or a matra. But today we can use a count. An efficient way to count is Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. The reason you want to add an Om between your counts is so you don't speed up or slow down your count. And it's even, especially sometimes when it gets a little more effortful, we might speed up or slow down our count. And often we do this without realizing. Okay. So just remember, if you're using the count, you want that steady Om 1, Om 2. If you don't want to say Om, then you say and 1, and 2, and 3. And that gives you a more steady unit of measurement. Please do not try to go to a higher number just for the sake of it. A higher number doesn't mean in any which way that your pranayama practice is better. It's more about breathing with skillful awareness. These 2 stages will prepare you for the next round of Kumbhaka. So let's begin. Once again, find your seat. If you're closing your eyes, go ahead. At a certain point, the instructions will stop and you will once again find silence for your self-practice. You can keep track of your counts by using the fingers to count each round. Begin by taking a full breath in and out through the nose. Close your right nostril with your thumb. Inhale Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Exhale same side. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Inhale same side. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Exhale same side. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Now continue in this manner on your left nostril for the next 5 rounds. When your 5 rounds are over, switch to your right nostril, 7 rounds on your right, and then 7 rounds with both nasal passages open. And practice about 3 sets of this. I will be silent and the guidance will pick up when it's time. And when you're done, just return to your silent reflection. And notice how the breath is flowing in your nostrils at this point. So often we jump straight to alternate nostril breathing. I've noticed in classes, I barely say nadi and then everybody has already begun. But think of this as your warm up before you get to your peak. Just in these 2 rounds, there is so much to gain, so much to explore, so much to seek. And I want to urge you to continue this forever. Okay, now forever might be a little too much, but at least consistently. You want to get to a point where your practice leads you to effortlessness and ease. And here's an important aspect I haven't spoken about yet. You want a soundless breath. A soundless breath. Not ujjayi breathing. That's not the technique we're looking at in this breath. You want a steady stream of breath and awareness, and you want them to walk and go together. You want them to dance together. Try this. As you listen to this, just place any hand, the back of your hand, under your nose. And breathe out so you feel the breath against the back of the hand. And now slowly move that 2 inches below your nose, closer to your mouth or chin. And notice how, for some of you, the breath will touch the hand, some of you, the breath will not. And then move your hands all the way down to somewhere near your neck. And then breathe out. Why am I making you do this? I want you to understand that we tend to force the breath, especially in asana practice. And it comes from a place of sincerity, I know that. But we tend to long inhale and exhale, and we put a lot of muscular effort into breathing. I want you to take the opposite approach. You almost want to breathe in such a gentle and soundless way that your breath is not felt closer to your mouth or even your chin. And it's a very gentle, subtle, sukshma breath. So remember, we've done stage 1 and stage 2. Okay. I'm going to guide another stage at this point. And you can just listen to this. If it's too much for you, come back to it whenever you're ready. In the next stage, we're actually going to switch the nostrils. While there's so much more to this practice, the medium of the podcast limits how I can share with you. Okay. So if you are pregnant, or you're on your menstrual cycle, or you have heart issues or elevated blood pressure, please do not do this next round. Okay. Or actually you could do this next round, but just be really cautious and make sure there's no retention. Okay. In this stage, we're introducing Antara Kumbhaka. Please note that Kumbhaka should come naturally, should be effortless. If you feel like you're gasping for your next breath, your Kumbhakas are too long. Avoid any muscular tension. And I will guide you through the first few rounds, followed by silence like before. My voice will reappear when it's time to move on. But again, if you are pregnant, if you are a beginner, if you are on your menstrual cycle, if you have heart issues, blood pressure, do not do Kumbhaka. Just go inhale left side, exhale right, and skip over the Kumbhaka, please. Or just reach out to me if you have questions. Let's begin. Take a full yogic breath when you're ready. Close your right nostril with your thumb. Inhale for 4. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Close both nostrils, Kumbhaka, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Open right, exhale, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Inhale right side. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Kumbhaka, close both. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Open left, exhale. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Now release the Nasikagra Mudra and just breathe comfortably for a moment. I want to talk about a few things before we go into a longer practice. That was one round, one cycle, where you go from the left nostril to the right and then right nostril back to the left. So it's a full circle. You come back to the starting point. That is one round. Okay. Now, while I'm guiding you for 4 counts, it doesn't mean you have to stick to 4. 4 is not a magical number. You can do 2 counts. You could do a 4 counts, 6 counts, 8 counts, as long as you are trying to even out that breath. If Antara Kumbhaka is too long for you, then shorten your number. If you run out of breath, shorten the number. Just keep the number consistent. Do a little, build over time. Now, if only one part of your breath is long and the other part of your breath is shallow, for example, if your inhalation is nice and strong and your exhalation is brief, then I want you to shorten your inhalation effort and give that effort and energy to the exhalation. Okay? And I know, again, just saying it on the podcast might not be clear enough, but you know where to get hold of me if you have questions. So let's begin. I'll guide you again for the first 3 rounds, and then you'll have a whole minute to practice on your own. Take a full yogic breath. Close your right nostril. Inhale left. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Kumbhaka, close both. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Exhale right. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Inhale right side. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Kumbhaka. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Exhale left. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Inhale left. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Kumbhaka. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Exhale right. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Inhale right. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Kumbhaka. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Exhale. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Inhale left. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Kumbhaka. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Exhale right. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Inhale right. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Kumbhaka. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Exhale left. Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. Now continue in this manner. And when you finish the next round, just return to silent reflection, breathing comfortably. And remember to make space for this silent reflection in your rounds. In fact, a good way to practice pranayama is just to do it for a couple of minutes and slowly build up your ability and your endurance. Because pranayama influences the hemispheres of the brain, especially Nadi Shodhana, you do not want to just keep going for longer and longer durations without that subtle awareness which develops over a long period of time. So let's end our practice there. If you wish to continue, you can always continue after the episode is over. But as I wrap things up, if you have the ability to lie in Shavasana and just listen to this end, then I highly encourage you to just lie in Shavasana, maybe close your eyes, and just listen to the recap that I'm giving you. I walked you through 3 practices. Stage 1 was breathing in and out through the left nostril 10 times, then the right, and then through both nostrils, and then doing that whole loop for at least 5 rounds, and then sitting in reflection, and maybe repeating that if that's your pranayama for the day. Stage 2 was the same practice as stage 1, but we worked on equalizing the breath to the best of our ability. Stage 3 was where Kumbhaka came in. Again, Kumbhaka is something that you have to work with over time and be patient as you develop your Kumbhaka skills. And just remember that there's so much more for what we've done today, and there's no way I can go into the depths of it via this podcast. I'm just giving this to you in the hopes that when you need it, you have something that can inspire you to practice. I really hope you, my dear listeners, get to develop a strong and joyful pranayama practice.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, know that there is so much more in the online course. The course is waitlisting now. Registrations open on December 1st and close on December 31st of this year. The course is starting on January 9th. It runs online for 6 weeks. We meet every Tuesday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time. But if you cannot do the live classes, know that the replay is available. You have access to a pre-recorded content library of videos, have a manual, you have done for you pranayama sequences, a checklist, as well as alumni meetings after the 6 weeks are over, and so much more. Okay, this is just a brief outline. I will be hosting a live pranayama info session too, but more on that later. The early bird pricing starts December 1st. And if you are keen to study pranayama in a clear, structured, concise, and comprehensive way, then this is your chance, my friend. Okay, I'm giving you both the live and pre-recorded formats because how you learn matters to me. Okay, so once again, the link is in the show notes, in the podcast description, and wherever else we connect. Please get on the wait list. I will be sending out some curated pranayama tidbits to that particular list. I will see you next week with an episode on self-care, but in the Ayurvedic way. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.